Our padre were a solemn bloke. We called him Dismal Jim. It fairly gave you blooming creeps to sit and ark at him when he were on with Judgment Day about that great white throne, and how each chap would have to stand and answer on his own. And if he tried to chance his arm and hide a single sin, there'd be that angel Gabriel with books to do him in. He'd had it all writ down, he said, and nothing could be hid. He had it all in black and white, and wouldn't take no kid. And every single idle word a soldier chanced to say, he'd have it all thrown back at him in court on Judgment Day. Well, I kept minding Billy Briggs, a pal of mine what died. He went to help our Sergeant Smith, but as he reached his side, there come and bust between his legs a big Bosch 5.9 pill, and I picked up his corporal stripes. That's all there was of Bill. I called to mind a stinking night when we was carrying tea. We went round there by Limerick Lane, and Bill was ahead of me. 'Twill rain in heaven's hard, you know, and boards was thick with muck, and umpteen times we slithered down and got the Dixie stuck. Well, when we got there by the switch, a loose ball tipped right up, and Bill, he turned a somersault, and down he come, and whoop! I've heard men blind, I've heard 'em cuss, I've heard 'em do it hard. Well, haven't I heard our RSM inspecting special guard? But Bill, he left him standing still. He turned the black night blue, and I guess that angel Gabriel had shorthand work to do. Well, how would poor old Bill go on when he stood all alone and had to hear that tale read out afore the great white throne? If what our padre says is right, he'd have a rotten spell, and finish up with it, I suppose he'd have to go to hell. And yet he were a decent lad and met a decent end. You'll never finish decenter than trying to help a friend. But somehow I can't think it's right. It ain't what God would do, this tale of all them record books. I thinks it's all nar poo. 'Twould let some rotten beggars in and keep some good uns out. And there's lots of blokes what does no wrong as can't do nowt but shout. But t'other night I dreamed a dream, and just twixt me and you, I never dreamed like that afore. I thinks it were true. I dreamed as I was dead, you see, at least as I had died, for I were very much alive out there on t'other side. I couldn't see no judgment court, no yet that great white throne. I couldn't see no record books. I seemed to stand alone. I seemed to stand alone beside a solemn kind of sea. Its waves, they got in my inside and touched my memory. And day by day, and year by year, my life come back to me. I see just what I were and what I'd had the chance to be, and all the good I might have done and hadn't stopped to do. I seed I'd made a hash in it, and God, but it were true. A throng of faces come and went afore me on that shore, my wife, mother, kiddies, pals, and the face of that London whore. And some was sweet and some was sad, and some put me to shame for all the dirty things I'd done to 'em when I hadn't played the game. Then in the silence someone stirred, like when a sick man groans, and a kind of shivering chill ran through the marrow of me bones. And there before me someone stood, just looking down at me, and still behind him moaned and moaned that everlasting sea. I couldn't speak. I felt as though he had me by the throat. 'Twas like a drowning feller feels last moment he's afloat. And he said nowt, he just stood still for I don't know how long. It seemed to me like years and years, but time out there's all wrong. What was he like? You're asking now, can't word it anyway. He were just him, that's all I knows. There's things as words can't say. It seemed to me as though his face were millions rolled in one. It never changed, yet always changed, like the sea beneath the sun. 'Twere all men's face, yet no man's face, and a face no man can see. And it seemed to say in silent speech, you did 'em all to me. The dirty things you did to them, the filth you thought was fine, you did it all to me, it said, for all their souls were mine. All eyes was his eyes, all eyes my wife's and a million more, and once I thought as those two eyes were the eyes of that London whore. And they were sad, my God, how sad, with tears that seemed to shine, and shivering bright with a speech of light. They said her soul was mine. And then at last he said one word. He just said one word, well. And I said in a funny voice, please, can I go to hell? And he stood there and looked at me, and he seemed to kind of grow, till he shone like the sun above my head, and then he answered, no, you can't, for that hell is for the blind, and not for those that see. You know that you have earned it, lad, so you must follow me. Follow me on the paths of pain, seeking what you have seen, until at last you can build the is with the bricks of the might have been. That's what he said, as I'm alive and that there dream were true. But what he meant I don't quite know, though I know what I has to do. I got to follow what I've seen, till this old carcass died, for I daren't face in the land of grace the sorrow of those eyes. There ain't no throne and there ain't no books, it's him you got to see, it's him, just him that is the judge of blokes like you and me. And boys, I'd sooner frizzle up in the flames of a burning hell than stand and look into his face and hear his voice say, "Well,